So hey guys, welcome to our next session. In today's session, we're going to look at how to gain customer insights using marketing information. So to understand that, let's first understand and analyze what exactly a customer insight is. A customer insight is an interpretation of trends in customer behavior essentially. So what we're trying to find out or figure out here is whether a customer likes our product. If they do like it, for which reason do they like it? Or if they do not like it, what is the reason for the same? So to identify all of this or to understand all of this, which will help us in terms of us being the company, which will help the company increase the effectiveness of a product because we know what the customer is looking for in the product. So we can increase the effectiveness of the product by improving whatever part the customer feels it is lagging, or provide better service or make better sales by identifying what the customer thinks about the product. So this often helps in creating better versions of the product and so on. So why is customer insight so important? Well, for any organization to improve their products or to improve their service, they need to know exactly whether the customer likes or dislikes their product and why exactly do they like or dislike the product. For example, let's say our organization releases a mobile device. So that mobile device, let us assume customers start to like it, but they dislike one part of it. Unless we look at why the customers dislike that one part of it, which is the part that the customers dislike, and how can we improve that little part. It could be camera, it could be battery, it could be screen size, whatever it is according to the customers. So based on whatever the customers feel we can improve in our product, if we do that, there's a higher chance that more customers will buy it, given that we are looking at customer feedback, we are looking at customer insights to understand their buying patterns, to understand their behaviors, and we are modifying our products and services to fit them. So this is the reason why customer insights are hugely important in any organization's growth. So to continue ahead from it, we have already seen this example in our previous section. That is, customer insights are difficult to obtain because till now, before the digital age of marketing came into existence, to obtain customer insight, you had to literally go and find consumers and get surveys filled from them, survey forms filled from them, or have focus groups and so on. But now it has become kind of a bit more difficult and kind of a bit more easy at the same time. So there are a lot of apps which perform customer insights themselves. Like if you're opening an app, it will ask you to rate it based on 1 to 5, and it will ask you what you liked within the app, what you disliked within the app, and so on. So all of this helps. So the organization. So this is where the new age, there is big data analytics and artificial intelligence is coming over to take over customer insights or to take over the collection and management of customer insights. So we had also looked at this particular example where right now we're in the age of personalized advertisements instead of mass advertisements. So knowing this, the one thing that we need to understand at this point of time is something that's called marketing information system. This is where information is taken from customers. Upon collecting the information taken by using customer insights or any other method, it could be internal records, it could be many different methods where we can get information from. This information is analyzed to gain some insight, to gain some interpretation, or in other words, to gain a knowledge by which some new decision can be made within the market. Now, this information that is obtained could be from internal part of the organization or outside of the organization or any such thing. And marketing information system help get this information and analyze it so that we are coming out with an output that will help our organization to improve upon, whether it is to market better, whether it is to provide a better product, better service, whatever it could be. So there are four common sources, or in other words, the common sources for any marketing information system would be generally as internal records or external records. I'll tell you guys what exactly internal records and external records are. But once you have obtained some information, your next step is to identify how to use that information. Whether the company is having better sales of a product or worse sales of a product, if there's something to be changed within a product, or whatever the details could be. So all of these are obtained using a marketing intelligence system. So this is done by research and using a decision support system which helps the company provide better marketing decisions. So, to start with, the information obtained could be internal or external records. External records are generally public records or rival competitor records or anything like that. Whereas internal records are obtained from within the company, things like sales data. That is how well our company, is doing in terms of sales of a particular product, our customer database so that we can contact them and get more information, our product database to get to know which product has which features, which is getting sold more, and everything, our financial data of sales or our operations data. So it could be any of them. So such internal records or even external records such as public database or third party analysis of comparison between different company sales or anything like that. So all of these are obtained as internal records, followed by this, or it could be external records as well. So this is going to help a company, or this is going to help an organization figure out how to become more profitable by making better products or better services for customers. So one of the example I'll give you guys over here is a vehicle insurance policy. So whenever you look at vehicle insurances, you always need to know that there are some criteria to get your vehicle insured. That is, there are criteria like you do not drive rash, you have a clean record, you have not used insurance before, and the various such cases. So a marketing intelligence system in this case takes internal records, things like, so far let us assume we have an organization which provides vehicle insurance, and we have already provided vehicle insurance for about 50 or 60 different, let's say, clients, or in other words customers. So in this, once a new customer comes in, we're going to first check by comparing with our previous customers so that this customer can pay the insurance, can be, in other words, a safe insurance customer. What I'm trying to say is, if we're getting all the customers who are driving very rash and every customer ends up destroying or damaging their car, your vehicle insurance policy will not work anymore. The company will go into bankruptcy. It's not gonna be very successful anymore. So to make sure that it works well, what companies usually do is, whenever you have something like, let's assume a customer with a very bad driving history, could be driving under influence, could be having a crash before, and so on. So when something like that happens, insurance provided to him is low, or it's not provided at all. But when there's a driver who drives very safe, it could be based on his age, it could be based on his location, something we already have in our internal records. We would have previous data so we can compare with it. So something we already have, we can compare with it and analyze whether a customer is a safe bet for our company or not. When they are safe bets for a company, then we can provide vehicle insurance for them at lower price or more insurance or something like this. So this is where marketing or competitive intelligence system comes into picture. So as we saw in the vehicle insurance case, we use internal records, in other words previous customer records, to figure out whether to make it easy for a new customer to buy or make it a bit more difficult, given that the customer already has a lot of history of bad driving. So moving ahead from this, the second source of marketing information system is, as we see, marketing or competitive intelligence system itself. So in marketing information system, till now we saw internal records, whereas marketing or competitive intelligence system looks at external records more than anything. Things like what market trends are new. For example, right now it's, let's assume, pandemic era, so the trend in market is slightly different. So right now people are starting to buy more full sleeve shirts or gloves and so on. So if we were a clothing company, we need to alter according to the market trends. People are looking for some things that cover more of the neck, more of hands and everything. So these are some things that we are supposed to look at within our market and understand. So that is one thing. The second thing is looking at competitors' pricing strategy. So when you have a direct competitor selling a very similar product and you're pricing your product much higher than your competitor, obviously you will be losing to your competitor a huge chunk of consumers. So this is where monitoring competitors' pricing strategy on a constant basis is very needed, is very much needed. Then the next thing is to figure out changes in customers' tastes and preferences. There will be some cases where customers may get bored of a certain product launch or product line, or customers may want something else, or customers may not prefer a certain trend because of their social background, because of their cultural background, because of their demographics, because of their social status. It could be because of any reason. So it's very important for a company, for an organization, to look at customers' taste, to look at what the customer likes, to look at whether the customer prefers the product that you're selling or not. Unless we see this and we just develop a product without realizing whether a customer would like it or not, there is no hindsight in it. There's no long term vision in developing such products. So, this is where looking at customers' tastes, short term, long term, and customers' preferences, as well as customers' thought patterns, behavioral buying patterns, are all important to understand. Then the next thing to know is always whether there are any new products launched in the market that are similar to our products. Let's say if we are selling phones, we need to always keep a lookout for any new products that are coming out in the market. And one thing we can always do from new products that are launched is learn pricing strategy. And second thing a company can always do from new product launches is figure out whether the company can learn something new in terms of product development from the new product that has been launched in the market. So, something like these are often important to learn from external sources of the entire organization. So, the other thing is to note promotion strategy of the competitor. If the competitor is heavily investing in promotions and they are investing in promotions in a certain way, in a certain method, the promotion strategy of a competitor will help us understand whether we should opt for some similar promotion strategy, or are they looking at customers' preferences and taste in a different way? Should we need to compete with it, or whatever it could be? So all of these can be analyzed, and these informations can be obtained using external sources, or in other words, by having a marketing or a competitive intelligence systems. So these are the first two ways to get information for your marketing information system. That is internal records, and then your marketing or competitive intelligence systems. So the third thing, before going off to that, I want to take an example of Apple against Samsung. So, given that Apple and Samsung are direct competitors, when Apple releases a new version of iPhone with certain features, Samsung looks to release a competitive model as well. Or when Samsung releases a new device with certain features, Apple looks to release a competitive model as well. So this happens to make sure that neither of the company are falling behind. Neither of the companies are going well behind the other company in terms of product, or it could be service, or it could be competitive launches, whatever it is. So this is one example where companies often take their competitors information and customer tastes and preferences as well. So customer tastes and preferences in terms like the first mobile device may have a very bad battery life. So the company looks at that and creates a phone with a better battery life. So at the same time, there's a competitor which is creating a phone in a certain way with certain features. So this particular company will also try to incorporate similar features so that their phone is also sold, so that they don't run out of the market. So this is one example that I'm just taking up in our case. So the third stage, or the third source of information within marketing information system, is something that's called marketing research. So this involves a lot of steps to analyze changes in customers, changes in competitor strategies, and whether there is a requirement for a new product launch or so on. So marketing research has a lot of steps within it, which help us analyze any one particular situation. We will look into detail about marketing research in a while. But before that, let's just look at the fourth and final input for marketing information system, or in other words final source, that is marketing decision support systems. So it's pretty much using a software solution that helps an organization make better marketing decisions. So what sort of softwares will be used, how do they work, we'll take a look at it later on. So before going on to these, I want to take a few minutes to particularly talk about marketing research. So here's what used to happen before. Much before, we used to take surveys. There used to be written surveys by customers where customers would tick things like something is good or something is bad or something like that, and those survey results would be taken up to perform analysis. That was somewhat of a marketing research that was done earlier on. But nowadays, it's entirely based on big data analytics and artificial intelligence. That marketing research of an organization can be done just by using a computer. So as you can see on the right side of this. So these are some things we should know beforehand, because right now marketing research has changed a lot from years ago till now. But essentially the steps in marketing research remain pretty much the same. So let's look at what are the steps in. So the first step is defining the problem and research objectives. Let's assume in our organization we're looking to figure out whether our customers like a particular product or not. So this is where we are defining the research objectives as whether customers like a particular product or not, whatever it could be. It could be an research objective, it could be a problem that we are trying to find out whether we need to change the camera size in our mobile device or not. We are trying to figure out what is the problem in terms of why young people or youth are not into our products, or why older people are not into our products, why certain demographics or certain social class or cultural class do not like our product, what can we do to change that. So this is where a problem like this can be defined. A problem could be like why the youth do not, or why young people do not like our particular product. So we need to set this, define the problem and set objectives within it. So once we have this objectives to find out why young people do not like this, the next step is to develop a plan. How do we find out why young people do not like it? So how do we exactly figure it out? Once we have the plan, we then gather the data. Once information or data is obtained, we then analyze it by implementing some sort of research plan. We analyze that data and then interpret something. Interpreting something could be like the final result, that is, young people do not like these particular products because they are, let's assume, not in the greatest design, or they are, in other, not interested in this product for a particular reason, or it could be a costing issue, or whatever it could be. So these are the basic steps in research that we follow. So followed by this, let us get back to the first step and let us look at each step and how it works. So the first step comes up as defining the problem and research objectives. So we need to find out where exactly our research lies. We need to find out what sort of research we are doing as well. So it could be an exploratory research, descriptive research, or a casual research. Exploratory research is where once an organization is performing a research, the organization is looking to find out something about any product or any organization or any feature that they do not know about yet. They don't know much about it, but they want to learn more about it. This is essentially exploratory research. Like for example, there's a new competitor. There's nothing we know about that company, so we are performing exploratory research to learn about what is this new competitor, what are they doing, what is their pricing and everything. So that could be something that's an example of exploratory research. The next thing is descriptive research. Let us assume we have a competitor who have already released a particular product, and this product has certain features, and our organization wants to know why this product is sold so much. What is it that the customers like about this product? And let's assume our organization performs research on looking at the product, analyzing it, and finding out why exactly do people buy it a lot by dissecting the product and analyzing it. This could be an example of descriptive research, where we are performing research in detail about a specific product or service or topic. And the last one is casual research, where we often look at experiments. So casual research are often done by field test using experiments and analyzing things. Like for example, we are performing research to figure out whether our phone camera really works well at night, really works well in long distance and everything. So this is something we have to test it out. So that could be a casual relationship based research, or it could be something like figuring out whether our mobile device offers a really good battery backup, and we need to analyze that. So we are performing a field test in this. This could also be a casual research. So going ahead, there could, as you guys can see in the last part of this slide, there could be examples like of for research. That is, we could define a problem like what should be the price for this new product, or which features should we prioritize or put more information, put more how do I say importance on, or if there is an advertisement that is being produced for marketing purpose, will the customer like it? Does the advertisement have everything that the customer requires to buy the product? So all these informations are obtained and understood using the research performed, but these themselves are just the problem defined in the research, and we need to perform analysis and interpret the analyzed data so that we can get results and figure out whether we are moving in the right way or not. So then this is the three types of research designs that we already looked at. So if you guys want to get to know a little more about it, you guys can pause this slide and go through it. Since I've already explained these research types in the previous slide, I will be going directly to the next one. So the next thing is to develop a research plan. So if it is to add a new feature, or if it is to remove a feature, or if it is to figure out how to market, whatever it is, we have defined the problem. Once we have defined the problem, we need to create a plan on how to analyze the data, or where to get the data, or what findings should be taken up. Let's take an example. We have a fast food restaurant. Now, in fast food restaurants, recently there's something new that is coming up in most places. It has been existing since decades as well. There is something called drive-through service, where a person can just take their car, drive up to the side of the shop or the side of the fast food restaurant, and from their car itself, they can look at the menu and specify what exactly they want to buy. So there will be a small window like place in the shop through which one of the employee will be providing the food in packages to the customer, and the customer will pay whether it's card, online, or whatever it would be. So the example that you guys are seeing here is there is a voice based system where the cashier or the employer within the fast food restaurant is talking through this voice based system with the customer. So the customer in the car is looking at this black rectangular box that you guys see, and talks towards it by saying, I want this particular product. So once the customer says that, the voice box, whatever it is, the employee on the other side will communicate through it by saying like, all right, just go ahead. Our employee will be giving it to you, or a person who's working there will be serving it to you. So once the vehicle moves a little forward to that window position, that product will be provided over there. So now let's assume we have a fast food restaurant which does not have a drive-through service. So our plan is to figure out whether we need a drive-through service or not. Investing in it takes a lot of money and time, and I don't want it to be a waste of money and time in my organization. So to figure out whether people are gonna use it or not is gonna be my intention. So we are looking at interpreting the results here. So to figure out whether we should have a drive-through service or not, that is the problem. We have defined the problem. Once we have defined the problem, let us develop the plan for this. So first thing, I need to gather data. Without data, I can't work on it. So where can I get the data from? Simple way. Since it's a fast food restaurant, I will use a survey in terms of sheets, or in terms of um, like app based or whatever it could be, for the customers that come into my shop or come into the restaurant, and ask them over a sheet of paper that is whether they would like to use a drive-through service here or not. So once we get all the results, we can ask questions to the consumers like whether they would like to have a drive-through service, what features would they like within it, is it needed, will they be willing to use it, or so on. So once we get all the information after, let's say, hundreds of surveys, once we get the information, we look at it and we analyze it. We need to figure out what data to particularly concentrate in it. So once we have analyzed it and figured out that people would want it or people would not want it for a particular reason, we will then have to interpret the results and take a decision. That is, let's say people would want a drive-through service for a particular reason, then we need to figure out, okay, if they want it for this particular reason, let's figure out and take this. How many people want it? How many people do not want it? Or if people don't want drive-through service and that is for a particular reason, our restaurant should also look into like, can we change that reason to make sure that people would like drive-through service, or should we just cancel the entire drive-through service plan at all? So this is entire research plan. So we need to figure out where to get the data from. Once we get the data, we need to figure out what we're going to analyze within it, how we're going to interpret the results, and based on the results, how to take a decision. So this whole pattern of steps, or this whole format of steps, is going to be your research plan. So a similar thing for a research plan is an example I'm going to go back to give for iPhone and Samsung again. So when you have Apple and Samsung, if Samsung is about to release a new device, Apple is going to do a research plan. Apple is going to look at what the competitors are doing, what our customers require. Before Apple creates a new phone, new innovative phone, they will look at what exactly their customers want. They will get customer insights. They will gather the data. After gathering data, they will analyze it, whether customers want better battery, better camera, what exactly they want. Once the organization, in this case Apple, decides what the customer wants, and then they have to take a decision by analyzing it. So should we work on this? Should we go ahead with this? If so, what should be the pricing and everything? So they have to look at all these factors. So this is essentially an example of developing a research plan. So the first thing that we need to know within developing a research plan is gathering data. Where do we get the data from? So generally data can be primary or secondary data. Primary data is the kind of information that you collect by yourself. In other words, we call it as first hand research data. For example, you're conducting surveys or you're having focus group discussions. I'll explain later on what exactly focus group discussions are, not to worry. But let's assume we are conducting data gathering or information gathering research by using surveys or by using online methods or offline focus groups or whatever it could be. So this is where we are getting information directly. This is primary data. Secondary data, which is not obtained directly by us. So it could be something like you're obtaining data from public libraries, you're obtaining data from some company annual reports, or you're obtaining data from newspaper articles, or researching from the internet, or from some other research papers. It could be anything like this. But the problem with this is, the problem with secondary data is you're not in control of it. You're not the one getting it. So you don't know whether it is accurate or not. You don't know whether it is true or not. Most of the time, it is accurate and true. That's never an issue because you're getting it from company reports or newspaper articles, which are often reliable. So there is a sense of reliability in it. Although there are some cases where secondary data may be manipulated and we may not be getting proper correct information from secondary data. But then again, if you go for primary data, there's again a trade-off. Primary data takes more time to collect because you're doing the research by yourself by getting information from the customer. Since you're getting it firsthand from the customers, you're 100% sure of the authenticity of the information. But the problem here lies in time and effort. For primary data collection, you're spending a lot of time and effort, even though it's highly authentic. For secondary data, which you may not know that it's authentic a few times, but you're getting all the information directly just by click of a button or something like that, which means it's much easier to obtain. So a company has to decide whether they need to take primary data or secondary data depending on various scenarios. There could not be secondary data for a case, so you have to perform analysis by yourselves. If there are reliable secondary data, the company can always take it. So there are a few examples for primary data to be obtained. Those could be interviews. So there could be an online interview with a customer, a telephonic interview, or a face-to-face interview. Generally, these happen online and telephonic nowadays. You may get an email asking, "Do you like our product?" Or you may get a phone call asking, like, "You brought our product a month ago. How are you feeling? Do you like it?" or something like that. These are some interviews that they do. Then there are focus groups, which I'll explain in the next slide. Then there are surveys. These surveys can be online, offline, over call, whatever it is. There will be a series of questions that you would need to answer. Thousands of customers will be asked such questions, and the same questions will be asked for thousands of customers. So these data are taken. So the other way to obtain primary data is, apart from interviews, the next thing is focus groups, where people of different demographics or different ethnicities or different categories are taken up together in a single location to communicate regarding the product or regarding the research area. So this is where focus groups comes into picture. I'll explain more about it in a while. Surveys, as we know how they work, it could be online, it could be offline, it could be anything. Then social media monitoring is where a company looks at Twitter, Facebook, and so on. A company keeps checking the social media about how people respond to their company. Like if I've just bought a new product and I seem to like it, I will respond positively over social media. If I do not like it, I will respond negatively over social media, stating that I don't like a particular part of this product, or I don't like this product for a particular reason. So a company can look at this data in social media, which thousands of people post, to analyze and get more information so that they can use this data for their own research purposes, for their own improvement of product or service or improvement of marketing. So this is often done using softwares, because there are a lot of softwares which analyze texts in social media, where a person says, "I don't like it because of battery." A social media monitoring application like this can analyze it and tell the marketing team or tell the product development team that people do not like this particular part of the product. So these are some ways of getting primary data. So, as discussed earlier, social media monitoring makes sure that you can monitor social media information, like, let's say, from Twitter, from Facebook. Since Twitter and Facebook are generally, most parts of it are public, or it could be some other websites like YouTube as well. So people look at comments, people look at tagging a company, because there are a lot of examples like this. Like when a when you have a product and you want to monitor whether people like your product or not, you will also be monitoring whether people like competitors product or not, why they like competitors product and everything. So all the external records that are needed can also be obtained using social media monitoring, things like competitor customer insights or your own customer insights, and all of these. So these often help in your research case if you're performing research which depends on the information that is shared by the customers over social media. So, moving ahead from this, you guys may have observed that whenever you search something, if you're searching for, let's say, for example, a particular mobile phone in Amazon or Flipkart or something like that, and then you go for another website, you get the exact same phone model as an advertisement within a minute. It doesn't even take a minute. So this often happens because customers are targeted with personalized ads. This is something we have seen in our previous segment as well, previous session as well. So there are a lot of things for customers, on the other hand, to make sure that they are not tracked. So whenever you're getting personal information of the people and everything, always a company needs to make sure that consumer privacy is also protected, because a company cannot take all the private information of a consumer. So that is something we'll discuss later on about. So the other way is by something called focus groups. Focus groups is where a small group of people are taken. This small group of people will be diverse as in different category in terms of either demography or in terms of social status, in terms of income, in terms of age, in terms of religion, or whatever it could be, so that an organization can analyze whether people of all different categories, all different demographics, for example, would like a certain marketing method, would like a certain product, and they talk about that product or the marketing method with those people. And here's what they do. So, generally, let me take for an example. If I'm talking to two or three young people about my product, and all of them say yes, I would love to buy, or 5 or 10 young people, and all of them say yes, I would love to buy such a product, then I can say that okay, this sample of young people will be willing to buy the product, so even more young people in the future will also be willing to buy the product. So like the point is, I cannot analyze, or I cannot conduct one-to-one surveys with 1 million people in a certain city. So I will take only 100 people or only 50 people, and I will consider it as a sample of everybody. So of that 50 people, if most of them like it, then I would assume that most of the city would also like it. If most of the youth in my focus group like it, I would assume most of the youth in the whole city or the state or country would also like it. So this is what is called focus groups, where small samples of each demographic category are taken up, so that they analyze whether people from each category would like their product or their marketing way or not. So similarly, secondary data can be obtained from various ways. That could be public company websites like annual reports, it could be some research reports, it could be some publications, it could be some government statistics or a third party analysis, it could be any such thing. So again, as we discussed earlier, primary data is difficult to work through, difficult to obtain, but at the same time secondary data is easy to obtain, but you can't 100% rely on it. It could be that the secondary data was taken, or that analysis from some other company was done 3 or 4 months ago, or 2 years ago. That data may not be reflecting to current scenario. So this is where secondary data sometimes may not reflect the exact current scenario as well, even though if it is accurate. So as we looked at focus groups as well, sampling is the concept where a small set of people out of a total population is chosen to get responses from. Like out of thousands of people who may be possible targets as customers, we will only be taking 10 or 20 customers out of thousands to get a generalized idea of how every customer thinks. Since every company cannot take thousands or 10,000 customers to analyze their feedback from, companies generally take a small sample and they assume that this small sample will be similar. The results obtained from this small sample will be similar to the result that would be obtained if the entire customer base is also taken. This is mainly done to save time and money, because a company cannot invest in analyzing hundreds of thousands of customers' feedback at a time and then going through it. And this works well most of the times. So, continuing ahead from this, the next step is to implement the research plan. As of now, we saw how to define a problem and how to develop a research plan. That is the steps to develop it, and where we can obtain the data from. That is, it could be primary or secondary data, and in what way can we obtain it, what is sampling and everything. These are some things we learned till now. So the next step is to implement the research plan that has been developed in theory. So here's where once we have developed the research plan, that is where to collect the data from and what should be analyzed within the data and what results should be obtained within it, the next step is to start collecting the data, whether it is primary or secondary. This step is involves collecting the data, whether from public repositories or from surveys or focus groups or whatever it could be. Once they are collected, we then process and analyze it. This could be from a software method or a manual method, where an organization goes through the collected data and analyzes why the customers would want something to happen or would not want a product to have certain feature or so on. So once this data is analyzed, it is written or it is put up in a shorter, easier way to understand. Like for example, If a company is looking at primary data collected from 1 lakh customers, let's take for example, a company cannot understand the results by an Excel sheet having 1 lakh rows of data. It's very difficult for a company to analyze it. So this data must be processed and made smaller so that it is visualized in a graph or something like that. It could be something like what we have already learned. It could be done using Tableau, or it could be done using several other methods. So once the data is processed, the next step is to analyze the information out of it to figure out or to come up with a solution. This solution could be either to implement a new product or implement a new marketing scheme, marketing idea, whatever it could be, or changing the current way or anything. So once all these steps are done, the final step is to interpret and report the findings. So once the process from the data is completed and we have obtained the results, from the results we need to draw conclusions. Like for example, whether to invest in a new marketing strategy, whether to perform something new, whether to or whether not to invest in a new service, invest in a new product. So this helps in making decisions for the organization, whether it is marketing, whether it is product development, or whether it is service creation. So using this, the company can make better decisions by knowing whether the customers will be liking this decision or not. So this sort of market research helps a lot for the organization. So the next thing we want to talk about is customer relationship management. See, every organization needs to manage the relationship with their customers in a really good way. To understand this best, let me take an example of something you buy from Amazon. So you literally do not talk to any of the employee of Amazon while buying something. You do not. But there's still a really good customer relationship management through softwares. Like if you want to buy a product, you're searching it and you're buying it. You're clicking add to cart, buy and everything. So first thing that where customer relationship management could come into picture is you're unable to pay or your payment is declined. You can immediately raise a request and talk to a support employee about it right there. Or let's say for example you have successfully ordered the product. Then the next customer relationship management comes in customer being informed that your payment has been done. You'll get a message, you'll get a mail. You'll also get a message and a mail about your order tracking, whether it has been shipped, whether it has reached your city, whether it is out for delivery, and what is the pin, and all of this. So even though you literally are not communicating with any employee over talk or over words or anything, there's a lot that goes into customer relationship management in things like Amazon, Flipkart, and so on in an automated way. In an automated way, you're making the payment. In an automated way, your order is getting confirmed. You're getting all the information about order being shipped, order coming up to your city, everything in an automated way. You're getting also information like order is out for delivery, again through an automated system until the final point where the person hands over the courier or the package to you. Until then, everything in customer relationship management is pretty much automated. So these are some examples. This is one example I'm taking. So this is something you guys can see in various companies where companies often look for software solutions to help manage good relationships with customers. It could also be like once you have bought a product, 6 months later on, you may get a mail stating that you have bought this product, how do you like it, or something like that. So, all of this comes under a part of customer relationship management. There could also be a mail that right after 10 days of you purchasing the product, you can get a mail stating you have purchased the product, it's been 10 days, how do you like the product? If you dislike it, you can let us know and return it, we will refund it to you or something like this. All of this comes as a part of customer relationship management to make sure that you have your customer informed to have a better relationship with the customer. The aim of this is to make sure that the customer is comfortable with your organization and the customer feels like they can be happy with communication from your organization, whether it is about a refund, whether it's about payment issues, or whether it's about a successful transaction as well. So, in this, a lot of companies invest in softwares heavily to make sure that customer relationship management is good. So, it may be a small company, a medium sized company, or a very huge company, they all invest in this. So, there are a lot of companies which provide such softwares for automated emails to keep in touch with customers, to tell customers that yes, we have approved your order, we have shipped it, it is out for delivery, or your payment has been confirmed, or whatever it could be. For all of these purposes, there are automated methods because these are redundant everyday tasks, and you can't have an employee keep doing this, whereas an employee is needed to solve issues with the customer. If there's a refund issue, if there's something like a payment issue, and a customer wants to talk to an employee, that is when the employee is needed more. These are automated things which can be done very easily through software. So companies like Zoho, Salesforce, Microsoft, all of them use CRM softwares. In other words, customer relationship management softwares to do these tasks. So one of the examples is the definition of Microsoft that I'm just going to take. So Microsoft defines customer relationship management in the following way. It is a category of integrated data-driven software solutions. It is directly stating that CRM is a software solution. It's not something that is customer relationship management that you do manually. It's a software solution that improve how you interact and do business with your computer. Customers. They are essentially stating that using computer software solutions, you can interact better with your consumers or with your customers and do better business with them by making a lot of things automated and easier for your company. So they also state that CRM systems help you manage and maintain customer relationships. That is by texting them often with offers. Like for example, you guys may have noticed that whenever in a certain website, if you don't buy something for 2 or 3 months, they send a mail saying we miss you as a customer since we haven't seen you often. As of these months, we are giving you a special coupon like 10% off or something like these. These are some things you guys see. So these are some things we often see as well. This is also an example of an automated customer relationship management tool. So it also helps you track sales leads, marketing, and pipeline. Pipeline is where things like an order is currently processing once, and then or the order is processed, then it is shipped. Then after it is shipped, it is going to a particular location. Then it reaches your location. Then it is out for delivery. These are pipeline of events. So these pipeline of events are also managed, and mails and messages are sent for the same as well through this. So these are some examples of how a customer relationship management or CRM tool helps. So this is the definition by Microsoft. Similarly, Salesforce also gives a definition likewise. Salesforce says that customer relationship management is a technology. They completely bring it up as a technology. It's purely based on software oriented solutions nowadays in every company, because you can't have an employee text and respond back to hundreds of customers every day. That's nearly impossible. So this is what they do. So CRM is a technology for managing all your company's relationships and interactions with customers and potential customers. They say that it's a technology. In other words, it's a software solution that will help communicate with your customers, current customers, as well as potential customers, or people who could become your customers by getting new customers, by getting new leads. All of these are done by CRMs. So the goal is simple, that is to improve business relationships. Customers will feel better informed, and companies will also have an automated task. So they also state that it helps companies stay connected to customers, streamline processes, and improve profitability. Of course, it helps stay connected to customers because you can send emails and messages often and be in touch with customers, and it helps streamline processes so that everything is made easy so that the employees can focus on more important tasks. And it also improves profitability because you can communicate with more customers in a shorter amount of time with an automated software solution. So this is what Salesforce defines it as. But what does CRM do? For example, first it helps find new customers. It sends messages and mails. It has its own way to find new customers, to get them to you by sending automated mails to check whether they open the mail or not. There are so many features within it. It can also help promote products to current customers. If current customers buy a certain kind of product and they like it, it also helps to promote certain products to targeted customers by mail or something like that. And it also helps retain customers. Like for example, if a customer hasn't bought something for over 2 or 3 months, it sends a mail stating that we have missed you being a consumer of us, we have missed you being a part of our company. As you've been far away for so long, we provide you with some extra benefits like some percentage off or something like that. So these are some tasks it does as well. It also does its own intelligent automated tasks by performing various things. So these are some things CRM does. So there are some other things it does as well, like offer better customer support. Because essentially the role of it, even though it's to improve profitability, it is made in a way to make sure that we keep the customers and we provide best service or support to the customers. So there are things like when you have any issue with any company, you have an option to send a mail. So the moment you send a mail to their customer care or something like that, you immediately get a response like a ticket has been raised, and you will get a response within 24 hours and everything. This is all done through a CRM software. Then an employee over there will look at that and will see the problem and respond. That response will again be sent to you over a mail or something like that, or through app or something like that. So all of these are also done by customer relationship management software. So these are some examples of CRM solutions. You guys can go online, check out how they work. You guys can look at their demo videos as well to learn more about it. So they have their demo videos in their websites, which I think will be really helpful for you guys to get a really good clarity of what exactly a CRM is and how it works. So there's Salesforce, there's Zoho, there's Microsoft Dynamics. These are the major players. There's a lot more as well. So this is also one example as a case study that I would like you guys to take up. I'll be sharing the same over WhatsApp group to you guys later on at the end of the session. I would like you guys to go through it, read it, learn it, and understand it to see how a small company can use customer relationship management to improve themselves a lot. So that'll be it for today's session. Tomorrow we will look at consumer data rights. Sorry, not tomorrow. In our next session, we'll be looking at consumer data rights. How a company needs to keep in touch with a consumer's rights and protect them. Yet the company can still use certain information that is personal of the consumer for their own benefits as well. That is, of course, to make more promotions and to make better products and sales. Followed by this, we will also look at consumer markets and buyer behavior in our next session. So until then, just keep learning well. We'll see you guys.